December Innohive session. Okay, so this is going to be on AI in innovation, hosted by myself. So I'm going to be giving the talk. But yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know, just before we kick off, I'll give you a little bit more detail at the end as well. But we are going to be doing these Innohive events, these knowledge nuggets, all through next year as well. So really exciting stuff. The next one in January is going to be on peak performance. Okay, I'm very much looking forward to that one. It's going to be on the 14th of January. But yeah, I think it's time to kick off with today, which is AI on innovation. So let me just switch over to my slides. Just wrangling people into the door as we get these up. Here we go. Right, nicely done. Right, so AI tools for innovation. What this talk is essentially a little bit of a behind the curtains look at how we at Innovation Network are using AI for innovation. Okay, so we've actually created an AI specific sprint where we're utilizing AI all throughout a workshop. We've also have been delivering a course essentially based on AI for personal and professional efficiency, but we've been using it in a lot more ways as well. Okay, so I really wanted to just share with my Innohive friends here everything that we've been doing, just because I'm hoping that will help you out as well. Okay, so that's what's happening a lot with this AI sort of scene at the minute. It's very new, it's very hot, and so we're just sort of sharing with colleagues, I think, a lot of new ways to do things. Okay, and this is essentially me doing it to all of you. So let's get started. Here we go. I'm hoping that the door calms down. I have to stop letting people in at some point. So first of all, what is AI? Okay, so very simply, in a nutshell, AI, or artificial intelligence, which is what it stands for, is technology that enables machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. This includes learning from data, understanding language, recognizing images, and solving problems. Okay. So yeah, it's exactly that. It's essentially simulated intelligence. Okay, and as you guys are probably aware, in the last, say, 4 years, this has sort of really developed phenomenally, right? So I remember AI from back in my games technology days. Okay, so at university, I studied games technology. I wanted to be the next sort of Nintendo. And I'm used to the phrase AI because AI has been used a lot in video games from the very start. Because essentially, if you remember your Mario NES game from like the late 80s, you'll remember the little enemies trying to catch Mario. Okay, and that was sort of simulated intelligence because those sort of bad guys were simulating intelligence. Nowadays, the word AI, the word artificial intelligence, has become a lot more widely used because it's spilling out of video games, right, into the real world of, things like chatbots. In fact, I've got some examples here. So things like virtual assistants. Okay, so virtual assistants like chatbots, which actually we're going to dive into today. So the ChatGPTs, the co-pilots, things like that. It's spilling into things like recommendation systems. Okay, so you find a lot of companies that are sort of doing AI recommendations for people a lot of the time by sort of gathering as much data as they can from their users and then really tailoring some recommendations for them to sort of try and hook them in, right? If we can sort of figure out, what Helen's favorite thing to do on the weekend is, we can probably send her a really tailored email in order to sort of get to buy that, right? So recommendation systems really widely used in AI now, and self-driving cars. Okay, I'm sure we've all heard about this one. So that's going to be your Teslas and things like that. They've been utilizing self-driving cars in order to actually drive cars without the interference of a human. So that one's really widely used as well. And that's that last one, it sort of stands for the robotics side of things as well, right? We've had a lot of robots now that are harnessing AI in order to do really human-like activities. So that's really being widely used in AI. But for this presentation, we are actually going to focus on virtual assistants. Okay, so virtual assistants, that's going to be your chatbots. Okay, there's a few of them knocking about. So the big ones are actually in that little image there. You're talking about your chat GPTs, okay, done by OpenAI. Just muting that. Oh. There we go. Okay, all good. That's going to be your open AIs. Okay, so that's who develops ChatGPT, heavily invested in now by Microsoft. You've also got your Gemini. Okay, that's from Google. So this is sort of the big companies, the big boys, sort of coming into AI. They were really quick to try and match open AI when they debuted ChatGPT. So Gemini is done by Google. And then the other really big one at the minute is Copilot. So even though Copilot have invested a lot into OpenAI and ChatGPT, they also have their own one, which is made from different technology. So it works actually slightly differently. And actually, I've got those differences in the next slide. Over here. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll do this one first. So this is a lot of the differences on a lot of these different platforms. So you've got ChatGPT. Claude is another one. Okay, so I like to include the sort of smaller companies that are trying to match your Microsofts and your Googles. Okay, so this is Claude. You've got Gemini here, that's the Google one, Copilot, that's the Microsoft one, and Perplexity, another smaller one that is trying to compete. You love to see it. So they've all got different strengths and weaknesses. I've got them here in a little chart, so feel free to screenshot if you want to, but very quickly running through them, okay? A lot of these tools can respond to prompts. They can summarize YouTube URLs. So you can give them a YouTube URL, a link to a YouTube video, and it'll actually dive into it and transcribe it for you and get information out of the video, which is really impressive. So
I put my headphones on.
Here we go. There we go. Okay, all good. You've got generating images. Okay, so a lot of them can generate images. ChatGPT has actually just added image generation for free users, which is pretty exciting. But it can make some really crystal clear images. If you say you want to see a squirrel collecting nuts in a tree, it will make you an image of a squirrel collecting nuts in a tree, and it'll be really vivid. So a lot of them can do that now. Accessing the internet. Okay, a lot of them can access the internet, others can only access the information that you give it. Okay, but it's become pretty wide that they can just access the internet and get all of that data. Recognizing uploaded images, you can actually give that image of a squirrel with collected nuts, and it will tell you what it is. It can give you details about that image in the AI. Okay, so it can do that. And summarizing PDFs and documents. Okay, so uploading documents to these AI tools in order for them to actually pick out things in that PDF and maybe summarize it, give you points to improve them, things like that. You know, data analysis, there's all kinds of things that you can do, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper in this presentation. Okay, so a few of these sort of flaws in these AI models. ChatGPT, it can't summarize YouTube URLs at the minute. Okay, that's one thing it cannot do. You'll notice that actually Gemini, Google's one, is the only one that can do that. I'm sure a few of you will have figured out why that is. As soon as I said that, right? Google owns YouTube, so Google are essentially sort of gatekeeping that YouTube access for their own AI model. So none of the other platforms can summarize YouTube URLs. ChatGPT, though, that's the only thing it can't do. Okay, so ChatGPT is pretty strong on a lot of fronts. Okay. I won't go through all of this. However, I will just point out that Claude has a little bit of a ways to go. Okay, it does need to improve a little bit. The big ones, Gemini and ChatGPT, they can do most things at this point. Very quickly, let's just show you what ChatGPT and all this AI stuff really is. Let me give you a demonstration, okay? Because I'm sure a few of you will be rolling your eyes when you see this, okay? Because you've been using ChatGPT for a year now, over a year. It's been out for a long time. So I'm sure when I show you this example, a few of you will have seen it before. But bear in mind, there will be a few people in this call who haven't quite dipped their toe in. And when I show this demonstration, like you maybe did, I'm talking to you guys who have used it before, you know, their minds will be blown, right? So we've got to go through this example, just make sure that we're all on the same page of what AI can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this email, okay? So this email is a formal course change request. Okay, so they're changing courses. And let me read you out this email real quick. So this is, Dear John, I trust this email finds you well in good health. I'm writing to formally request a modification to my course enrollment. Due to unforeseen scheduling constraints, I kindly seek your assistance in transferring to an alternative session if possible. I appreciate your attention to this matter and look forward to your guidance on the next steps. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, whatever your name is. Okay. And just as a demonstration of what all of this stuff can do, we're going to change the following from a formal business tone to a more friendly tone. Okay, so this is one thing that you can do on ChatGPT on these AI apps. I'm going to probably say ChatGPT because that's the one I'll be demonstrating. And I'll be honest with you, it's my favorite one. It's the one that I use the most. So I've got a prompt lined up here already, ready, steady, cook style. Okay, I've got a few of these in this session. So you know, here's a prompt I prepared earlier. So here I've got that email again, but at the start I've put, please change the following please change the following from a formal business tone to a more friendly tone. Okay, so all I am instructing this AI to do is to simply take it from a formal tone like we have it now to a little bit more of a friendlier tone, one that they might resonate with a little bit more. Okay, so let's hit go and see what this comes out with. Hopefully this works. There we go. Okay, maybe panic a little bit there. Right, so here's a more friendly version of your email. And what we're getting on the other side is request to switch course session. Hi, John, I hope you're doing well. I'm reaching out to ask for your help with a quick change to my course enrollment. My schedule's gotten a bit tricky and I was wondering if it's possible to move to a different session. Let me know what I need to do to make that happen. I really appreciate your help. Okay. So as you can see there, a little bit more friendly tone, and maybe John will resonate with it a little bit more. So it's not that it's right or wrong to turn a formal email to a friendly email. However, this is just one thing that they can do. And actually you can use it in the flip way as well, right? So if we have a more casual email and we ask ChatGPT to make it more formal, it will do that as well. And I use that one a lot because oftentimes ChatGPT can make emails much more formal than I can myself. Okay, I'm not a very formal guy, so that does help me quite a lot. So yeah, that's just one thing you can do. You can do tones. We'll jump in some other stuff in just a little bit as well. So I'm hoping that that sort of shows a few of you what AI is if you haven't dipped your toe into it before. All it is it's entering text to the chatbot, and then they will do pretty much exactly as they tell as you tell it to do, right? That's all it really is, and it really can generate some human-like responses. Right, so we got some strengths and weaknesses of each of these. Okay, so Copilot it is based on a vast amount of data. So when you are doing data handling, it can do that really well. Okay, it's the only time I'll actually boot up Copilot is when I'm sort of running numbers. That's when I actually use Copilot over ChatGPT because I find it's actually more accurate. Okay, I actually don't trust ChatGPT for crunching numbers. ChatGPT, the big strength of ChatGPT is essentially human-like responses. Okay, Copilot, Google Gemini, they're pretty impressive with what data it sort of gives you and what it can pull out. However, if you are looking for a human-like response that sounds like a real person, I'd say ChatGPT is definitely your best bet. And overall, like I said, is my favorite. I do think it's the strongest at the minute. It's just overall. And then Claude 3, it's a little bit of a poor man's ChatGPT, I'll be honest. So again, it's quite detailed and human-like responses. It's just not there with ChatGPT in terms of what data it has available and what it can do. Okay, but Claude is a nice little alternative there. And then Google Gemini. It's strong in its multimodal capabilities. Okay, it can process images, videos, text. So that one's the one that's got the sort of the most features. And I think the reason for that is that they've leveraged all of this stuff with Google, right? So Google has all of these different platforms, and they've sort of leveraged that within the AI platform. Helen, I've just seen a chat come through. I'm just wondering if you could maybe sort of note those down. I'll try and keep track of them. No worries if you can't, but if any questions, if you can note them down, that'd be amazing. But I'm sure we can circle back to them if not. Right, going forward. So prompt engineering. Okay, prompt engineering is what I'm going to be giving you tips on today. Okay, so prompt engineering is really important in AI. Essentially, you've all heard the term garbage in, garbage out, right? Well, if your prompts aren't up to scratch, if your prompts are lacking in detail, if they could be improved, then on the other side, the responses that you get from the AI, they're not going to be what you're looking for. Okay, and this is actually where a lot of people slip up with AI. So a lot of people, they'll dip their toe into AI, they'll give it a go, and then they'll come back to me and they say, look, you know, this AI isn't working for me. I'm not getting the stuff that I want back from it. It's not quite, you know, what I can use in my day-to-day work life. And very often it's not actually poor ChatGPT's fault. It's actually that they were writing prompts that weren't getting them results. Okay, so garbage in, garbage out. If you write bad prompts, you will get bad responses. Okay, and you can't really use them as much. On the flip side, if you use good prompts, okay, if you use some nice specific prompts, which we'll dive into in just a minute, then you will get some really good answers. Okay, you'll get some really good useful stuff that you can actually really use. Okay, and I've seen this from multiple people, right? I've seen people that are much better at making prompts than me, and because they can make better prompts than me, they can actually harness AI a little bit better than me as well. Okay, so that's really how it works. I'm still trying to improve prompt engineering, we call it, right? I'm still trying to improve my prompts and how good they are in order to improve the output that I can then use. So in summary, prompt engineering bridges the gap between raw queries and meaningful AI-generated responses, enhancing the overall quality of AI systems. And now what we're going to do is we're going to explore some good prompts and some bad prompts, okay? So a bad prompt is a prompt that is poorly crafted and fails to effectively convey your intentions. It lacks specific details about your requests and doesn't provide enough context. For example, write something about cats. Okay, so if you just write something, if you ask it just to write something about cats, you're going to get sort of a really broad answer that might not fit what you're looking for. Okay, so things to point out there is lacking detail. Okay, your prompts need to be really specific. That is something that is really needed. And then you need to effectively convey your intentions, right? Whatever you're looking to get out the other side of the AI, you really need to sort of tie that into your prompt. Okay. So a good prompt provides clear direction and specificity. I can't say that word, guys. Specificity. It includes relevant context and concise instructions. For instance, compose a short poem describing the playful antics of a mischievous tabby cat chasing a sunbeam. So that one there, much more specific. Okay, much more specific. And so you're going to get a bit more of a specific answer and probably more of what you want. Okay, so specific, and they've really clearly directed the AI in order to, yeah, get a really tailored response there. Okay, so that's what you want. Essentially, all you need to know is just be direct, be specific, and as much detail as you can in order to get some good responses. Okay, that's all you really need to know about making a good prompt. Lots of detail, lots of specificity. Okay. Right, so I've got some examples here for you. So a bad prompt would be write something creative. Okay. What do we want to write creatively about? What's going to be the subject? You know, this is going to just wildly give you something that you might not want to use because it's going to be totally random. You haven't told it any details whatsoever. If you want to write a good prompt, you might say, compose a whimsical short story about a mischievous squirrel who discovers a hidden treasure in the heart of an ancient oak tree. Okay, now you know why squirrels are on my brain. So this one is much more specific, right? It's telling the AI exactly what you want to get. And as a result, you're going to get a really specific response, which you can probably use. So in this specific example here, all we're doing is we're going from something that's totally broad and not enough for the AI to go on to something much more specific that the AI can actually sort of do a good job on because it knows exactly what it wants from you. Okay. Another example, write an email to ask for the day off. Okay, now this one's interesting because I would argue if you put this one into an AI, you're probably going to get quite a nice response back. Okay, I'm sure that the email will be, you know, formal. It might even give a little bit more detail. It'll probably be something that you can use. Okay. But with these AIs, the more specific you get, the more you can elevate the outcome. Okay, so I'd argue that this bad prompt might get you a good outcome, but what if you want the outcome to be even better and something that you don't need to sort of rewrite half of? Okay, because that's what often happens in AI is you get sort of an answer, and a lot of people are sort of customizing them heavily with their own brain. But yeah, we're in 2025 now, so you don't need to use your brain anymore if you make your prompts good enough. So for this one, we can turn that to compose a professional email requesting a day off next Friday, explaining that it's for a personal obligation and offering to catch up on any pending work beforehand. Okay. So this one much more specific. I think we'll agree, you know, if we put a day off next Friday, then whatever response we got from the bad prompt, you know, we wouldn't have to plug that in ourselves. It's there already in our outcome. Okay. Explaining the reason, okay, that way you can tell your boss exactly why you're missing work. The AI isn't going to guess, and therefore, again, you'd have to change it. And then, you know, offering them to catch up on any pending work beforehand. As long as you are actually planning to do that, then that's obviously going to give them some consolidation, okay? So again, being more specific, more detailed about what you want to get. Another one, write me an essay about climate change. Pretty broad. That's going to write you any essay about climate change and you don't know what is going to come out the other side. If you say write a 500-word essay analyzing the impact of climate change on polar ecosystems, focusing on how it affects biodiversity and indigenous communities, well, there we go. It's going to be a really specific essay. It's going to hit exactly those points that we specified. And you know, if that's what your lecturer asked for, that's probably going to be something that we can use. Innovation Network, we don't condone using ChatGPT for your university homework. But one interesting thing about this one is this is our first constraint. Okay, so a constraint is really is a really nice tip for prompting. Okay, you'll notice that I've got write a 500-word essay. Okay, now 500 words is actually a constraint because you're telling the system that you don't want any more words, right? You can only do 500 words. Very interestingly, in prompts, if you add these constraints, if you ask GPT sort of not to do things, right? Don't include this, don't go over this word limit, don't say anything about that, then quite often you eliminate things you don't want, and therefore the outcome will be more tailored and more of what you do want, right? So by adding constraints into your prompts, by sort of laying down the law and telling these AIs what you don't want from them, very often, again, elevating the outcome of the AI, of the responses that you get. Okay, so let's go through. I've got a couple more examples here. So please teach me about Rome. again, it'll tell you anything about Rome, not being very specific. However, if we say provide a brief overview of Rome's history, highlighting its role during the Roman Empire, major historical landmarks and its cultural significance today. Okay, that's probably going to be more of what you want. You can imagine if you're, again, using this for research purposes and you're trying to, go for the Colosseum and the Roman Empire, with this first prompt here, please teach me about Rome, you might be getting responses of like the first pizza place to open in Rome in the early 1800s, right? Maybe that's not what you want if you're looking for stuff about the Roman Empire. In this one, we've got highlighting its role in the Roman Empire. Therefore, it's probably going to give you more stuff around all the Spartans and whatever else was going on in the Roman Empire back then. Okay, so again, more specific in order to get a more specific response. Where can I go for coffee? Well, where are you? The AI has nothing to go off. It doesn't even know that I'm in London. So it might give me a response saying, you can walk down your local street and find your local coffee shop, something like that. If we say, suggest a few popular coffee shops in downtown London, in my case, known for their cozy ambience and excellent specialty brews, it's going to say, Connor, you've got Speedy's. There's a coffee shop called Speedy's just around the corner from me. It'll say, well, you're right next to Speedy's, and it's really cozy and ambient. So go there. Okay. Again, being more specific, telling it where I live and what I actually want from a coffee shop is going to really tailor the response. Right. This is actually one we're going to try. So describe a sunset. It's not going to give us too much detail about that sunset, probably something quite broad. And again, actually, it will give you a good outcome, but maybe not what we're looking for. But then what we're going to try is write a vivid, poetic description of a sunset over a serene beach, emphasizing the colors, atmosphere, and feelings it evokes. Okay. So let's try it out, shall we? Again, I've got some more Ready, Steady, Cook tabs here. So this one, we're going to do the bad prompt. Okay, we're going to do describe the sunset. Let's see what comes out. So what's going to come out is, again, what I actually think will be a good outcome. Okay, so a sunset is a daily masterpiece painted across the sky. It begins with the sun sinking lower, casting a warm golden light that that softens the landscape. Hues of orange, pink, and red spread outward, blending seamlessly with the fading blue and daytime sky. So it's just sort of describing a general sunset. Okay. However, what if we want this description to be a poetic description? And we want it to emphasize the colors and atmosphere. Okay, something a little bit more artsy. Maybe I'm entering a poetry competition, but I've just realized that I'm entering the poetry competition sort of the day before. This might be a prompt that I use, right? So let's do it. Let's see what this comes out the other side. So the horizon blazes like a painter's palette spilled across the heavens, a riot of molten gold, tangerine and blush pink blending into streaks of lavender and indigo. The sun, a fiery orb, dips slowly, languidly, it's even using words that I don't know, into the embrace of the sea, its light scattering like molten coins across the gentle waves. I won't read the rest of it, don't worry, guys. But you'll see here that a little bit more poetic, okay, a little bit more artsy, and maybe this is what we're looking for, okay, in our prompt. Again, no right or wrong answers. Maybe I did want a little bit more of a sort of blander, less artsy answer, in which case I might use a prompt a little bit more like this. However, if you did want to sort of get that sort of poetic essence, then you might just make that prompt a little bit more specific. Interestingly enough, it is a back and forth. Okay, so those of you who haven't used these AIs before, you can keep refining even after it's given you the response. So here, if I do think it's a little bit artsy, which I think it is a little bit artsy, what I can actually say is make this less artsy. Okay, and it'll know exactly what I mean. So let's see. The sun sinks slowly towards the horizon, painting the sky with warm shades of gold, orange, and soft pink, and gradually fade into the purples of deep blue. Its light reflects on the calm waves. So here we've got a response that's very similar to that last one. However, it's not going over Connor's head now. I actually understand what it's going on about, right? So you can refine prompts as you go along. You get a response, you think, oh, maybe that's a little bit too artsy. Maybe that's not something that I can use. And so you say, make it a little bit less artsy, and it will give you a response that, quite obviously is less artsy. And you can do that with anything. You can say, make something less formal. You can say, make something shorter, things like that. Okay. Nice. So in a nutshell, good prompts, really specific, really conveying what you want, and you will see some success with it. So some tips and tricks for you. Okay, so the first one is be explicit. Okay, so just directly ask the AI model to think step by step or debate pros and cons before providing an answer. That really helps. So yeah, clarity in your instructions does lead to better outcomes. So if you can really direct, you can say, give me bullet points. You can give it sort of subheadings if you want to. So if you're writing that essay on climate change, like we saw, just telling it to focus on indigenous communities, the ice glaciers, things like that, you're going to get those in your response. So leveraging examples is actually a really powerful one. So providing specific examples is going to really sort of help the outcome. So for an example there, if I'm trying to improve my LinkedIn profile, okay, I know for a fact that Chris Bolton's LinkedIn profile is really nice. Okay, so I might actually copy Chris's LinkedIn profile, paste it into the AI, and then say, make me a LinkedIn profile for myself and give it some details about myself that is as good as Chris Bolton's. Okay, and you should get a really nice LinkedIn profile back. Obviously you won't get as good of a profile because AIs just aren't there yet, and Chris's profile is very good, but providing an example, something for it to sort of achieve, is going to actually give you a really specific outcome. Okay, I do this all the time. So going back to that sunset, if we found a poem that we really like, you could actually paste in that poem, and you can say, give me a poem about the sunset in the style of this one that I'm providing you. And those responses are going to be much more elevated. If I'm honest, if you can use examples with pretty much anything that you do, that's probably the best way to get the outcome that you're looking for, right? Because it's going to be mirroring something that you want already or that you'd like already. And then last one, so set constraints. I went over this one a little bit. So we saw that 500 word limit. If you set constraints in your prompts, if you say that you don't want it to be over 500 words, or you don't want it to talk about, with that Roman Empire one, if you say you don't want any history past 1200 BC, I'm awful at history, then it's going to make it more specific, right? It's going to leave out that history that you don't want. So telling it what you don't want is as powerful as telling the AI as what you do want, I would say. Nice. Right, style and tone. So establishing the style and tone of your prompts is really important. We did touch on this one with that example I gave you right at the start. So as an example, if you ask ChatGPT, I need a professional yet personal tone for a graduate school application in psychology, emphasize resilience and empathy, it's obviously going to hit on the professional tone, professional yet personal tone, and that resilience and empathy. Whereas if you just said, make me a school application in psychology, it might not hit on those tones. Okay, so don't feel like the AI knows more than you. Don't feel like the AI sort of knows exactly what needs to be done. You're still the human in this situation that knows the context, knows what you need. You need to be sort of confident in telling the AI what you need. So if you're applying that school for that school where you know that they really like resilience and empathy, don't be afraid to add that into your prompt, because if you do add that into your prompt, you're sort of working with the AI, right? You're providing the context of your real world and of your real world scenario, and the AI will only sort of help you to achieve that. Okay. So, I mean, for this one, if you enter it, you get a response. Again, don't forget, you can then tailor it a little bit more. You can say, please make it a little bit longer. Actually, I want you to say a little bit less about resilience, and you can go to and fro from there in order to get the outcome that you're looking for. Okay. But yeah, this direction helps focus the AI on generating content that is not only meets academic standards, but also reflects personal qualities important to the field. That's exactly why you want to be specific in your style and tone. So what can AI use for? So this is actually pulled from our AI efficiency course that we're running at the minute, where we actually have a load of prompts and activities around each one of these areas, believe it or not. I know there's a lot of them. But yeah, the reason why we made it so broad, that course actually, is just because we found people don't realize how many things AI can be used for, right? So we've been doing examples that are a little bit silly, sort of essays. We've done some emails so far. These are the things that a lot of people sort of think of when we think about using AI for work, but there's a lot more you can do. So let me just reel off some. So financial analysis, if you plug in some numbers into ChatGPT, it can actually analyze them for you. It might even give you some budgeting recommendations, things like that, right? So you can actually just plug raw numbers that you might get from Excel and ask it for recommendations or just to analyze them into like a report, maybe. That's something it can do. AI for email, we've already seen that. It can write your emails. It can even summarize emails for you, right? So it can even summarize other people's emails. If Richard sends me an email and maybe Richard's a bit of a smarter guy than I am, and I don't quite know what he's saying. If I ask ChatGPT to summarize it for me, or I might even tell it to explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, then maybe I can sort of understand that email a little bit better. Okay. So automating routine tasks with AI, you can do that. Generally, that's out of the chatbot zone. Okay, so usually you have to use some more different sort of platforms for that. AI search for search and research. I was actually talking to one of you. I was talking to Hanan about that just before the session. So when you have that great idea, you can maybe ask ChatGPT if it's already been done before, or a little bit more research to support that. Personalization at scale using AI. So you can really sort of make things personalized. Maybe all of your posts, you want it in your own tone. You can do that. AI meeting and collaboration. You can maybe summarize some meeting notes, things like that. Report and document writing is a big one, right? So if you just give it some raw data, some raw information, it can write some reports and documents for you. And on the flip side, it can summarize reports and documents and sort of analyze them as well. Using AI to optimize your LinkedIn profile, that's one that people are using it for, and what a lot of people miss. So, just asking it for recommendations on improving that header of yours or improving, your work experience, that can actually bag you a new job if you're looking for one of those, right? So that's a really interesting one. I think we'll skip a few of them here. Any more interesting ones? Using AI for images, don't skip that one. A lot of them are sort of pulling in image generation now. So definitely play around with that and generate some images. There's, like I said, there's so much that AI can be used for. So I think the key there is just trying to think creatively and trying to think of new ways to use AI that you haven't before. And in the long term, that is going to sort of help you improve in the AI scene, right? And in actually using it for more things. I really do think that, skipping on all AI and actually, sort of shaking your finger at it and not trying it out, it can make you sort of be left behind a little bit, right? There's going to be a lot of people who just jump on everything and really use it to enhance their workflow, and that's a little bit tough to keep up with if you're just absolutely refusing to use any AI. So I think the key is, use it in small ways, try it out after this meeting if you haven't already, and then from there try and think of new ways in what to use it. I'm thinking of new ways to use it all the time. Nice. I do have some prompts for you. We don't have time to, obviously we don't have time to go through all of them. So this is your screenshot time, guys, because this is what we call in the company genius level prompts, right? These are ones that get some really good results. And actually, that's a good point. If you do find a prompt that you think is really useful, maybe save it in a document somewhere, right? I've got a big sort of Notion. Notion is like a note software, and I just have lots of prompts in there that I use all the time. So definitely sort of save them in your Batman tool belt, so you can use these prompts for later. Okay. But for optimizing your LinkedIn profile, some that you might want to use, suggest improvements to my LinkedIn profile to align it with jobs postings for specific role, ensuring that my profile matches common recruiter searches. Okay. So if I wanted to maybe go into the sales industry, maybe I want to get into sales, I could tell it to align my LinkedIn profile with sales, and hopefully it'll match what recruiters are looking for, what these sales companies are looking for. Okay. Another one, generate personalized connection request messages for LinkedIn that emphasize mutual interests and value propositions for professional networking. Okay, if you're biting the bullet and you want to send your hero a LinkedIn connection request, okay, if you want to send Gary Lineker a connection request, don't rely on this AI to make it for you, but I would ask AI to sort of tell me what it thinks it should do, and maybe I'll weave some of that stuff into my response. Okay. So it's not blindly following what the AI sort of gives you, but very often the AI might give you a line here or there, which is really good, and that might be something that you include in your own response that you write. Okay, and for a high stakes thing like sending Gary Lineker a LinkedIn message to connect, you're going to want to do that, right? Finick over it, but take into consideration what AI gives you. And then the last one, write a LinkedIn post announcing my participation in a professional conference or event, emphasizing the value of attending and encouraging connections. Okay, so that's going to be really good if you're running an event. Just getting that text really nicely thought out. Again, it's going to be in your interest. So just another thing that you can do with AI. So screenshot this if you can. I'll try and work out with Helen. Maybe we can get you guys these slides after the course. But let's see some for AI in email, because I think that's what a lot of people will be using for. So we've got some more here that you can screenshot, but a couple. Generate an email response declining a business proposal, politely explaining why it's not a fit for our company at this time. The reason I put that one in is ripping off the Band-Aid messages, the ones that are quite tough to write. Oftentimes, if you do put them in AI, it can be a little bit easier to get it over the line, right? Again, you might change a few things, you might refine it in ChatGPT or whatever. However, those tough emails, the ones that you don't like sending, quite often you put those through AI and it's a little bit easier to send them once you have a good idea of how to write it. Okay. And another one, summarize a client's email where they outlined multiple feedback points and suggested improvement to our services. Okay, so when you get that angry client who gives you a load of feedback on how they want your service to improve, you can actually summarize that in order to make it a little bit more actionable. Okay, very often emails just get left in the dust because they're so long and wordy. If you actually summarize it with ChatGPT or something like that, maybe you can log it away. Maybe you can sort of start plugging them in as tasks in your business and actually start executing on them. Okay, so it's not just about writing reports and responses to other people. You can just use ChatGPT and AI for yourself, right, in order to summarize things, make things a little bit more simple, clear, and then it might even change your behavior, the company's behavior, in what gets actioned, what doesn't, right? Nice. So hopefully you screenshotted that. And then last but not least, so we are coming to the close here. I just wanted to highlight how we're using it at Innovation Network. Okay, a lot of you know who Innovation Network are. A lot of you are familiar with my face. Innovation Network, we do innovation training courses. So we show you how to innovate, and we also do workshops and sprints, right? So we take these companies, these senior leadership teams, and we actually run them through decision-making processes to hopefully get from a problem to a nice solution that they start to execute. Okay. And this is the process that we use. We use the innovation fast track method, one that we generated ourselves just through sort of pain and hardship of running these workshops. This is what really works for us. And I just want to highlight where we use AI in our process, okay? Because we're now going to clients, we're running through these these sprints, these workshops, and we're throwing AI at them in order to actually improve the output of our sprints, which I find really interesting. So things that we're using it for, just a few examples, is in the discovery stage, okay, which is all about reaching out to users and sort of exploring the problem that we're working in. We use it to generate stakeholders, okay, so see what stakeholders might be out there related to the problem. And we also use it for research, okay, so if we're looking to make a new toothpaste, we might do some research on ChatGPT, tell me countries that have the worst dental hygiene. Maybe that's somewhere where we can focus a solution on, okay? So you can really explore your problems with ChatGPT and AI, okay? You can just say, I'm having an issue with this process. Tell me how other companies solve this process. Tell me what's already out there. And you're going to get some really good stuff, okay? You might ask for a deep dive on a couple of companies. You could specify that. You could say, tell me what IBM do and Microsoft do. You could also go pretty broad and you can say, give me 30 different companies that do this process. And then maybe you can sort of dig into them a little bit after. So again, being specific with those prompts. We also do assumption validation. Okay, so in our process, we actually map down a lot of assumptions because you can't not, right? When you are a bunch of smart peoples in a room doing a sprint, you do have to get your assumptions onto the table and you don't quite know if they're true or not. The key in a sprint, I won't go too much into sprints and workshops, but the key in a sprint is to either validate or debunk those assumptions that the team have. And what we often do is we actually get those assumptions out into the open and then use AI to validate whether they're true or not. Okay, so going back to that dental hygiene thing, if I think that dental hygiene might be bad in the UK, I could ask ChatGPT that, and actually ChatGPT might say, well, actually no, the dental hygiene in the UK is actually pretty good. You might want to focus on another country. So again, my assumption might be wrong, all right, and AI can sort of help me figure that out. Another one, ideation. So we've actually been using it for ideating. I'll leave that one for a minute because I've got a slide on that. And then also creating pitches, so creating some nice pitches and also creating some logos, taglines, things like that. That's going to really help people buy into your solution. Okay, so that's just some things that we've been using in our sprints. Let's dive a little bit deeper into ideation. Okay, so some prompts we've been using are things like inserting your problem, okay, and then generating 30 creative and innovative ideas to address this challenge. That gives you some good stuff. Okay, you've got some more here. So 30 ideas that specifically cater to the need and preferences of your user. I like that prompt because it makes it a little bit more tailored, a little bit more user-centric to the user that you're trying to reach. 30 ideas that can be implemented quickly and efficiently. Okay, if you work with low resources, low time, low budget, you might want some low-hanging fruit ideas, in which case you might want to roll with that one. And then generate 30 ideas, generate 30 innovative and out-of-the-box ideas to tackle this challenge creatively. Okay, this one's a really good one. If you actually, one example from someone I worked with, they were like backpackers and they wanted to figure out how to backpack for much longer. And I remember this last prompt here, it gave them the example of a portable ant farm that they can carry in their backpack in order to sort of eat the ants as they go along, but obviously new ants will be generated. And they looked at that and they go, oh, what a ridiculous idea. And I saw them, they went sort of, wait, actually, yeah, that might be something that we can use. So really interesting what these prompts can come out with, okay? Sorry if there's any sort of vegans in the room. Nice. So my last points, okay, because I do want to get to some questions. Remember, be specific. Okay, so be nice and specific on your prompts. That's sort of the key to this whole prompting stuff. Okay, be nice and specific and you'll get some nice and specific responses. Try to think of new ways to utilize AI. Okay, so I really encourage you, if you're using AI to respond to emails, if you're using it for reports and things like that, try and branch out, okay? Try and think of new ways which you personally can use it, okay? And use it in different ways. That's going to sort of just really help you in the AI scene and obviously keep up with everyone else, okay? Maybe, hopefully, you've been inspired to use it in a couple of different ways from this talk. And last but not least, if you feel like you haven't tried AI, start small and have fun. Okay, so don't use it for anything big stakes yet. Just after this meeting, if you haven't tried it before, boot up ChatGPT. It's free. Okay, completely free. You just need to make an account and just use it for a little bit of fun, I'd say, to begin with. Okay, I remember the very first time I booted up this stuff. What I did was I took sports and I asked them to give me like you know how FIFA in the FIFA video game everyone's got like a number, right? So Lionel Messi, he might be a 98 rated because he's really good, and there might be some that are lower. I asked it to give me other sports and make me sort of a FIFA like roster, right? So I had like boxers who were, you know, different sort of numbers and things like that. I wasn't using it for work, okay, I promise it wasn't relevant, but it was just a little bit of fun, okay. It sort of blew my mind how I was creating these sports rosters in a FIFA style, okay. So I encourage you all to do that. If you haven't dipped your toe in, boot up ChatGPT and just do something that's fun for you, okay. Ask it to tell you a crazy story, ask it to use your favorite characters in something, you know, just go crazy and give it a go, and then it'll become more comfortable and you'll be able to use it more for things like work. Okay, and more useful things. Nice. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. I think we've got some stuff in the chat. It's been a busy chat. However, I've been like letting people in the door, so I haven't been able to quite read and talk at the same time. So let's dive in some. Helen, do you have any questions lined up? If not, then we can. Yeah.
I think I suspect Chris has got a couple of questions because he's come on to screen, but also we had quite an interesting question from Trevor, and I'm not quite sure if he's still on the call or wants to unmute it. I think it summarizes as how much can you believe AI? Is it evidence-based? I think that's how his question summarizes, but if Trevor, if you want to come off mute and ask the question, if that's wrong.
Sorry, I have come off mute. Is my microphone working?
Yeah,
it is. We can hear you. So did I summarize it correctly or not?
Pretty close, Helen. Thank you. Yeah. So what I said was, I believe, anecdotally and observationally, that sometimes these AIs have the ability to, let's call it, dream. So they will extrapolate forward and create information that doesn't necessarily exist, and you always have to be careful about using them. Use them as a handrail. Don't just copy and paste it. And they do most of them do warn you about that anyway, but you know, don't just copy and paste it. Make sure you read it thoroughly and apply, you know, some due diligence to it.
Oh, Trevor, you're exactly right there. Yeah. And Trevor, I probably should have added that as a disclaimer at the start. I do whenever we use it on a sprint. I was sort of showing you guys behind the curtains here, so I did forget that. But yeah, that's thank you for doing the disclaimer for me, Trevor. That's exactly right. So you know, there is going to be some misinformation coming into these AIs. They're only using sort of training data from, like, say, a year ago. Okay, so it won't know sort of recent stuff, a lot of them. And yeah, it does, like Trevor say, forecast into the future, right? So all of these AI tools, they're being worked on currently. They're still improving. A lot of them can sort of give you the odd false fact here and there, right? So like Trevor said, he worded it beautifully there. Use it only as a handrail. Okay, use it as a handrail. That's what you want to use it for. It can be really useful, as we saw in this presentation, right? It can be really useful to generate text, generate things like that, but always read over whatever it gives you. Always fact check, okay? And that's key. And then anything high stakes, if you're, you know, doing some, you know, high stakes research in your company, you know, don't blindly believe what AI tells you. Always do some fact checking within that. It's very key. So yeah, thank you for that, Trevor. Nice. Now, Helen, I know we've got some other questions, but I know that we're sort of fairly late in the talk. Yeah, go on ahead.
I think perhaps if we hold the recording at this point, and then if we let Chris, he's got quite an interesting question, but if we pause the recording?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we'll pause the recording. Yeah, that's a great point. But just before I pause the recording, and before we get to those questions, let me just remind you of the next knowledge nugget, okay? Just in case anyone does need to get on with their day. So guys, in the Teams chat, I'm posting the time that's going to be available for you. Okay, so it's achieving peak performance. Really exciting way to kick off the year 2025, I'd say. It's on the 14th of January at the usual time of 10 a.m. Okay, so I don't think you want to miss it. I certainly want to be at peak performance at all times. And I'm also going to put in a link. Okay, so in the chat, also come in the link. So click on that link, guys. That's going to take you to the LinkedIn event page. Okay, and just sign up already. Okay, I'd get your name down there. Just sign up. Obviously, if you can't attend later, that's fine. But I would just get onto the board and sign up to that event if you can. Nice. So thank you for that. I'll pause the recording. So thank you very much. Here we go. Nice. Recording